Spurs need to break their trophy curse, but I believe Ange Postecoglou is the correct man for the job, and I don't think I should be the man to replace him. So instead, I'm replacing Daniel Levy and becoming the director of football of Spurs and taking over the recruitment and scouting process and giving Ange Postecoglou the tools he needs to make Spurs Champions League winners. And if for some reason we need to get rid of Ange, finding the correct manager to take Spurs to the very top of European football. Now, managing as a director of football is very, very enjoyable. We are giving Ange every single bit he needs to do to be the manager, and he is leaving all the transfer business to us. So on the training ground, it is all Ange Postecoglou. In the tactics, it is all Ange Postecoglou. And in the set pieces and in the matches, it is all Big Ange. Now, for this, we do have to have the in-game editor enabled to be able to move Ange Postecoglou to be the assistant manager here at Spurs. In fact, he is the manager. I am just the director of football, so everything in terms of scouting is being done by ourselves. But I am only able to sign players if our scouts recommend him. So if I want to sign a player, we have to have had them scouted by our scouting team. For example, for goalkeepers, I could only go out there and sign Diego Costa, Diego Calai, or Franco Israel. So if it is a goalkeeper I want to sign, I will have to set up the scouting network to be able to do that. Which of course means tactically, I have got nothing to do in this rebuild. So it is purely going to be how good my signings are to if we can make Spurs Champions League winners. And if we know anything about Spurs, they're not very good at doing things like that. They're not very good at getting trophies. And Ange hasn't shown so far that he is the trophy man. They could be on course to win a Carabao Cup this season. And for Spurs' sake, I actually hope so. But we need to be the man to give them the transfers to make that possible. So sort of the first order of business here really is to go ahead probably to the end of August and understands how Ange is going to get this Spurs team playing. And well, to be honest, it looks as though Ange might have things under control. They faced up against Crystal Palace and absolutely battered them 4-1 with 56% possession and 19 shots to Palace's 3. But the thing that we need to take a note of is his tactical style down in this bottom left-hand corner. He is playing with Madison as an inverted winger, Richarlison as an inside forward, Kulusevski in the cam role as an advanced playmaker, a Volante and ball winner in midfield with two inverted wing backs, a ball playing defender in Vicky van der Ven, a central defender Romero, and Heung-min Son as the striker. And if we do check out the tactics screen, we can see I have now created Ange's tactics in the tactics screen. So I have got some sort of inkling is what we need to go and improve on if we need to make signings, and I'll be keeping an eye on how this goes throughout the season. But for now, let's leave Ange to it. He beat Spurs, he drew to Chelsea, and he drew to Manchester United, and he drew to Liverpool as well. So 4 games unbeaten and has played 3 of the big 6. Maybe Ange is just the guy and we don't need to do any transfers. And he made them feelings even more known as we sit in our director's box and watch him dismantle Arsenal. An early goal scored by Yves Bissouma in a 1-0 in 50 minutes. A James Maddison penalty makes it 2. And as we sit warm and comfy in this director's box, Spurs go on a lovely move as Maddison finds a fantastic lofted through pass to Heung-min Son, who makes it 3-0. And to be honest, Ange was absolutely cooking. He was beating Spurs like Bournemouth by 4 goals, Ipswich by 3, or winning Europa League games 8-1, and only lost 2 games in the entire first half of the season, which leaves Spurs sitting in 3rd place in the Premier League table on 42 points, still somehow 6 points behind Manchester City and 4 points behind Newcastle, who are having a fantastic season led by Alexander Isak. For us so far, it's been James Maddison off that right wing with 14 goals and 5 assists, and you can see where exactly your players are playing in these director of football rebuilds by heading to the player profile, heading to development and going to tactics and seeing where he is playing. So James Maddison as a right winger played 16 games, got 7 goals, got 2 assists, has played 6 in the cam role, got 4 goals and 2 assists, and 2 of the left wing, scoring 3 goals in them 2 games. So he has been an influential player across the front 3 this season. Richarlison is also someone that has massively impressed and someone that I wouldn't normally give a lot of game time to in a Spurs rebuild, but Ange sees it differently. He has 21 goal contributions in 25 games. Remember, I have nothing to do with the tactics or the players and how they're playing at all in training. I'm simply going on holiday, keeping an eye on the results in case he just sack Ange, not ticking the current match tactics or the current team selection, and just doing it all himself and he's absolutely cooking. But for me, a position which Spurs need to sort of improve on now is the striking position. I think it's time to move away from Heung-min Son. He is now 31 years of age. This season has shown that he's maybe not the right striker for Ange, scoring 9 goals in 24 games, and he's also wanted by some huge clubs here like Manchester United, and I'm sure as the end of the first season arises, he'll be wanted by some even bigger clubs with massive budgets as well. So I am making it my top priority to supply Ange with a star striker for next season. I think Son can get it done for the rest of this season, but for season number 2, I think Ange needs himself a star. So we're going to look for a young player who we can send back to his main club on loan for the rest of this season, for next season to come in and make a massive impact. And the man that I've decided to go with is Semih Kılıçdaroğlu from Besiktas. The 18-year-old striker looks absolutely fantastic, and so far this season Besiktas has 16 goals in 18 matches. He has 14 finishing, 13 composure, electric pace. At 18, he is scoring goals for fun. He cost us £25 million, but he is able to go back to Besiktas, finish out this season as strong as he has started it, and come into us next season as a superstar striker. And that is my one piece of January business done. And January could be a massive month for Tottenham Hotspur, as we are watching currently the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Exactly like Spurs are doing in real life, this time against Brighton. We take a 1-goal lead in this game before Brighton level things up. And in fact, actually, they go 2-1 up technically, because this is the second leg in which we lost 1-0. So it's down to us to level the game up, which Dejan Kulusevski and Odegaard linking up on his left-hand side did a fantastic job of. And it was just time for us to grab the winner, Timo Werner, down the left-hand side once again, linking up with Odegaard to find Brennan Johnson on a lovely left-footed finish to send Spurs to a Carabao Cup final, where we could finally break the transfer curse. And I've not really even had to do anything, but we are going to be up against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Where after just 7 minutes, James Maddison carries on his fantastic season and grabs the only goal in this game as Postecoglou and his merry men lead Spurs to their first trophy in, I don't actually think it is forever, but in a very long time, beating City in the Carabao Cup final. And that wasn't our only trip to Wembley this season, as we also get to the FA Cup final, where we were facing up against North London rivals Arsenal, and they handed us the early lead, with Heung-min Son scoring in 11 minutes. But Arsenal sadly wanted to get a trophy of their own. Mikel Arteta finally needed his trophy, and Saka scored in the 52nd minute to make the game 1-1. And in typical Spurs heartbreaking fashion, in the 96th minute, a defensive error finds Gabriel Jesus to find Martin Odegaard, and Arsenal win the FA Cup final 2-1. And Spurs go a little bit Spursy and bottle the biggest trophy we could have won this season. Well, other than the Premier League, of course, but to be honest, we weren't really going for that one this year. That is something we are going for in future seasons, but we actually had a very good season and we're only 4 points off. City ended up winning it on 80 points. Arsenal, Newcastle joint on 77 and ourselves on 76. It was a pretty decent season. We did keep a lot of consistency, winning 22 games, drawing 10 and only losing 6 against Everton, and then 5 away games against Arsenal, West Ham, Villa, Everton and Fulham. So at home, we made the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium an absolute fortress. But it was our away form in the Europa League semi-final which made us come unstuck against Manchester United, as at home at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, once again, we grabbed a 3-1 victory, and we were looking like we were going to the final, but at Old Trafford, we absolutely bottled it. 2 corners go in, and in the 52nd minute, United grabbed their 3rd goal and beat us 4-3 on aggregate, which means sadly just the 1 trophy in season 1, but at least it's hopefully broken the Spurs trophy curse. And we of course have to mention that we have got a star striker coming in next season in Semih Kılıçdaroğlu, who grabbed another 8 goals in 8 games for Besiktas. So finished the season with 17 in 31, as we can see at the top here, which is a fantastic season for an 18-year-old. Hopefully he can come into the Premier League and give us another bunch of goals, which would be huge. And if he can add to James Maddison's 28, That would be absolutely ridiculous. I wish I could see the exact instructions Postecoglou was using on Maddison, because as a right-sided inverted winger, he was simply incredible. 13 goals. I mean, as a cam, you got up 12 and 17. And as mentioned, even as a left wing, you got up 3 in 4. And it did seem like Ange mainly used an inverted winger on the right-hand side, an inside forward on the left, and a playmaker in this cam role. And Kulusevski was fantastic in that cam role as well. He is someone we are really looking to build this team around, as he grabbed 17 goals this season. And I mean, as I've said, I normally write off Richarlison very early into anything I do on Football Manager, but this season, 27 goal contributions in 48 games. There is no chance I'm selling Richarlison, and if we can get a left winger to compete with him, we really could be gunning for the Premier League. And with the signing we've made to rotate Richarlison is Pedro Goncalves, and actually is the perfect signing to rotate in any of the attacking midfield 3 roles. He can play off the right, he can rotate off Kulusevski in the cam, or he can take that starting left wing position as his own. As the inside forward with 16 finishing, he could very well be that man. He is also a creative genius with 16 technique or 16 vision, and he's great on either feet as well. He is consistent, he likes big matches, and last season scored 16 goals. So for £44.5 million, I can't find a fault with signing Pedro Goncalves, especially when we have just raised a grand total of 98 million pounds selling Heung-min Son to Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia, where he is now earning 1.1 million. Thank you very much, Heung-min Son. Not only have you helped Spurs with 113 goals in 303 games, you've also given us a massive transfer budget. But what if I told you that wasn't the biggest sale of this summer window? You would not believe me. Well, believe me, because Manchester United have just spent £104 million on Pape Mateta Sarr. 94 million, raising to 104. Last season he was good, 31 games and 6 assists. To the point of spending £104 million, I don't quite know. I just simply couldn't reject that for a 21-year-old who, to be honest, was a rotation with Bissouma and Bentancur, who I am more than happy with. And I feel like we replaced his role in the squad for just £11 million with Luka Sukic. So coming in from Real San Sebastian, he is consistent. He, again, is very good at getting forward and driving late into the box, just like Mateta Sarr. Also fantastic on the ball, has a great engine room, is 6'1", is also just 21 years of age. Great on both feet, and as mentioned, cost us just £11 million and had very similar seasons to Sarr last season. But with all that extra money, I decided Semi Kilkashoy could be the backup striker to Julian Alvarez. Alvarez has been at Atletico Madrid for just 1 season, where he grabbed 13 goals in 33 games. But remember how good this man was at Manchester City? Well, I want to see him back in the Premier League, and I want to see him up top for Spurs, being a pressing forward, being aggressive, leading from the front, being a typical Postecoglou striker. He is great on both feet. He can move into the channels. He's consistent. He likes big matches. He's got great finishing, great teamwork, great flair, and he's just 24 years of age and screams as a Spurs signing. He did cost us 62 million, which is quite a fair bit, but I don't feel like we've overpaid too much. We're still 30 million less than when we sold Son for. And with the remaining money, we signed Oscar Minguez from Vigo, Loic Badi as a 4th choice centre-back from Sevilla, and Leonardo Lilo from Casapia in Portugal as a backup left-back. All 3 of them signings coming in to strengthen our defensive options. And when you look at our first team right now, it looks absolutely fantastic. Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Bentancur and Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Potti and Alvarez up top. And the backups have improved massively as well. Mengeja, Radikosin, Bade and Lilo as the back 4, with Luka Sukic and Archie Gray as their midfield duo as the backups. Brennan Johnson, Bergvall, Richarlison and Shimon Kulkashoy as the backups there, providing youth and also experience in Richarlison. I genuinely think this Spurs team could go on to win the Premier League. We are currently sitting as the 7th favourite, which is ridiculous because Arsenal, we were 1 point behind a 4-1. Newcastle 1 point behind a 16-1. We were 4 points behind City, who are 9-5, and we are 20-1, which is outrageous. We've only improved this side, and I think Ange Postecoglou could take the Spurs side to dizzy heights. And that is exactly what he done to kick off season 2, with the first 7 games beating Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City 4-1 and exceeding 1 goal and winning 7 games, scoring a grand total of 15 goals. And that led Spurs all the way to now, 37 games into this season, on 87 points, needing just a singular point to secure the Premier League table. And it's not like we've been carried by just one player. Julian Alvarez scored 28 goals. Maddison grabbed 33 goal contributions. Richarlison, 22. Archie Gray had his breakout season with 14. Brennan Johnson with 18. Pedro Goncalves with 20. Kilgashoy with 10. Kulusevski with 14. As a team, Ange Postecoglou has made this Spurs side one of the best sides to watch going forward, hardly conceding any goals. And when we compare it to the rest of the Premier League, they are just doing fantastic. The most goals scored, we are just third on goals conceded, and in terms of possession, we have above 50%. But what we needed to do was, for this final game against Liverpool, was to go and watch it as Mr. Director. Now, you would have seen we have a second manager as Mr. Kempi XRE, and if you guys are running a Director of Football save, this is how you go and watch games while not interfering as the manager. You need to create a second manager, head to Spurs, head to the schedule, and where the game is at the bottom, simply click the little attend match, and we are going to go and watch as a Director of Football. And the one thing I forgot to mention was that in second place was Liverpool. And who do we face today? Liverpool at Anfield. All we need is a singular point to make Spurs trophy winners. As we sit in our comfortable little director's box, we thought we had the lead as Kulusevski goes close. And to be honest, it was the story of the whole entire game. Going close, but doing a classic Spurs and never quite getting it over the finish line. Liverpool had their fair share of chances. Salah found Szoboszlai on the edge of the box, again hitting the post. But we were just holding on. And again, all we needed was that simple little point. And as time ticked down and we got to the 86th minute, I was more and more confident that we were going to be lifting this Premier League title. I thought after just a couple of signings and one summer, we had made Spurs champions of the Premier League. Well, Liverpool and Mohamed Salah had different stories to write. Darwin Núñez finds Gravenberch. It drops to Salah in the box. And in the 87th minute, Liverpool score and they secure the Premier League title. While being 3 points out in front, clear, we managed to bottle the league. And I didn't do this on purpose. I didn't try and make a joke out of Spurs being Spursy. But once again, we just show the slight little curse on Spurs as we just about miss out on the Premier League. And we bottled another trophy this season as we lose 4-1 to Manchester City in the final of the Carabao as we look to go back to back. And in the quarterfinals, Liverpool were our arch rivals once again, beating us, and in the FA Cup got fourth rounded by Wolverhampton Wanderers. And it's a really gut-wrenching season because we feel like we have built this team at a very strong level. I don't feel like the signings have made any issues, but I also find it hard to blame Ange Postecoglou for any of this. He is a top manager and has been working absolute wonders at Spurs with the team he's got. But there is a little symbol up here to show that he is wanted. And I can say he's wanted by Manchester City to be their manager. And sadly, he took that job. I didn't have to sack Ange. I didn't want to sack Ange. He had got us to top 4 finishes and within a goal difference of lifting the Premier League trophy. But to add a spin to this Director of Football rebuild, we are losing Ange Postecoglou and he has joined Manchester City, which means I need to go and hire myself a manager. And I've compiled a shortlist of 5 managers that I think would be able to come into this team and really help us. And with all the 5 managers that I have got, I've decided to not change system because I've already spent pretty much all of our budget bringing in the perfect left winger for Ange to really get us over the line. So we need a manager to play the 4-2-3-1 system because we have just signed Galeno from FC Porto, who at this point is a 4.5-star world-class talent who has just grabbed 16 goals and season 4 grabbed 8 and got a 7.82 average rating last season. He looks absolutely insane, and with the amount of cam and winger options we've got, we really can't deviate from that 4-2-3-1. So the 5 managers we have got is Stefan Baumgart, mainly because he looks a bit like Omega Luke. The picture is fantastic with an unbelievable cap on him. And he's the manager of Union Berlin. He plays a 4-2-3-1 adventurous wide position. He triggers the press often. He's zonal marks and he's a mental coach. In terms of the 10s-2, he signs domestic players. Obviously, that's our job. But he uses crosses, focuses played on the flanks, but uses intense pressing and uses counter pressing. And you'll see that with a lot of these managers. I'm simply looking to bring someone in to try and play a bit like Ange and add their own little spin. We've got 38-year-old Cesc Fabregas, who has left Como to go to Athletic Bilbao in the last couple of months. This guy would be fantastic, but of course is an ex-Arsenal player, so we are not bringing in Cesc Fabregas. We have Okan Buruk, who is working wonders at Galatasaray. Has won back-to-back leagues in this save. He uses counter-attacks, he relies on set pieces, he uses player marking, but he does use intense pressing, but he doesn't allow creative freedom. And yeah, he was a little bit of a plays his way, and that's the only way. So again, not quite the correct option. We saw Matthias Jasile, a 37-year-old manager who has been at RB Salzburg, is now going at Al Ali in Saudi Arabia, and again, looks really good, plays attacking 4-2-3-1, plays out of defense, intense pressing, uses counter pressing, and likes young players as well, which of course we would love to bring in, but he wasn't my choice. The manager I eventually settled on was Sebastian Hoeneß, coming in from VfB Stuttgart, and he is working absolute wonders in real life, and he plays an attacking 4-2-3-1 that plays out of defense. And to be honest, for me, that is exactly what I want to do. Stuttgart have had two very decent seasons, in fact coming in third in the Bundesliga in the first year, and last season with Champions League football dropping down to 9th, but doing a fairly respectable job with a team which, I mean, he's working on a budget here with Silas. I mean, he's got Danny Aarons' dog at right wing and is still doing bits. So I think the man we're going to go with is Sebastian Hoeneß. So let's bring him in to be the manager. Again, to show you how you do that, click the little pen, move to club as assistant manager, and we have now got to go into all the training, etc., and give him control so Sebastian can lead the team on the training pitch, in the tactics screen, and on the matches. And once again, as we did with Ange, I'm going to go forward a month into the season and see exactly how he plays, but I don't think we're going to be signing one because I spent all the budget on Galeno. And but after our first game of the season, we can see exactly how he is looking to play, and it is very similar to Postecoglou. He has got an inverted wing back, but an inverted full back to make a back three with the two same DMs, the ball winner and Volante, with this time Maddison holding the width on the right hand side, Pedro Goncalves still as that inverted winger on the left, the advanced playmaker in Kulusevski, and the advanced forward in Julian Alvarez. So overall, a very good managerial appointment, because all we're going to do is move one of the midfielders in the inverted wing backs to play in defence and use a 3-3 system rather than a 2-4. And this first game against Manchester United showed exactly why we brought in Sebastian to lead the team on the football pitch. An early set piece made us 1-0 leaders, and we grabbed the second after a great ball forward from Udogie, eventually found to Maddison, who picked up where he left off on that fantastic form last year with a great left-footed finish. Obviously, there was cracks in this system, and we had to learn how to play this exact way, as Manchester United eventually got a lucky bounce, and Rasmus Højlund scored to make it 2-1, but we were not worried. We came out firing in the second half and played more beautiful football. Richarlison setting it back to Basuma, who eventually found Richarlison again to find another cross into the box, which could be something we are looking at, with Bentancur scoring a back post header. United made the game 3-2. There was Mateta Sarr on the pitch as well, so we sold for 104 million, and he had a big part to play in that goal as Rashford scored. But we grabbed a fourth and final and beat United 4-2 thanks to a goal from James Maddison. So I didn't do any transfers for Sebastian. We left him with just Galeno, who obviously we signed for a different manager, and hopefully he can fit into this team. So we're going to go ahead to the end of this season, or we might end up sacking him midway through. Let's see how things go. Well, no, he's definitely not being sacked. In his first season with no transfers as a manager, he carries us to second place in the title and 7 points, behind the ever-dominant Liverpool, who win the league once again, which is incredibly frustrating. As we check out this screen once again, they are really our nemesis. They beat us in the Champions League knockout playoff round, knocking us out, and in the Carabao Cup final, we also bottled another trophy, losing to Leeds on penalties. which is just an absolute joke. Leeds have won a trophy, as many as us in this rebuild, which is very, very frustrating. But what we do know now is we have got a manager in Sebastian Hoeneß that is now settled into the club and is going to be bringing in his style of play into this Spurs side. A Spurs side which performed well for him. Goals being shared out. Alvarez with 16, Maddison with 16, Kulusevski with 16, Richarlison with 12, Galeno with 10. But certainly not at the same level as Postecoglou. So I think it's only right, it is now time to invest in our brand new manager. And we've got the budget to do it here as well. We've got £78 million in transfer budget, a bunch of wage budget. And while Spurs do look very rich on the face of things, we also know they have that brand new stadium. And we do have £711 million in net debt. So for any reason, we do have a bit of a stinker of a season. And if Sebastian does drop us out of Champions League football, we will be in an absolute mess. So it really is pivotal that we keep Spurs at the top of English football. So we invested in Paul Vanna to come in as a backup right winger into this Spurs side, and again bring in another rotation option to that man in behind the striker. We've got now 6 fantastic attacking midfielders that can all play from left to cam to right wing, and hopefully it is going to do us a massive job this season. And then we decided to invest in the future a little bit. We brought in 2 left backs, which is a bit weird, but number 1 was Ludovic Magnin, a Swiss from Yeverdon, who cost us just £5 million. And then the signing of Lee Young Pyo from Seoul, who cost us £2.5 million and already has a value of 35. He's a bit more of your inverted fullback on defend, who can do a bit more of the defensive option. So if Sebastian does want to develop a young left back into that role, we may have found the perfect guy. He is joining and is out on loan for 2 years at Seoul, so really should be able to progress his talent for this team, which doesn't change all too much going into season 4. I think we saw enough from Sebastian Hoeneß this last season that hopefully with a full pre-season under his belt and getting the best out of these players, we can see a title charge for the mighty Spurs. And what absolutely cracked me up is that Postecoglou left us to join Manchester City and has been sacked already after just 1 season, replaced by current manager Steve Holland. Being unemployed serves you right, and you should have believed in the Kempi Spurs project. And well, despite a topsy-turvy start to the season, losing to City, beating Arsenal, losing to Villa, beating last season's winners Liverpool 4-0, we eventually ended up at the end of the season in fantastic form, winning every single game in March, every single game in April, and won 2 out of the 3 in May. Our form was much helped by a fantastic season by Julian Alvarez, who has now played 100 games for Spurs, scoring 44 goals, including 23 in this season, the Premier League alone. It was also last season signing Galeno, who grabbed 19 goals and 16 assists, grabbing 35 goal contributions in just a calendar year, and Shemi Kilkashoy showing us the perfect backup striker, grabbing 12 goals in 20 starts and 18 games off the bench, which all led to Spurs in season number 4, managed by Sebastian Hoeneß, lifting the Premier League title on 82 points. It's not the highest tally we have ever seen, but it is something which I am very, very proud of. Beating City by 4 points, Liverpool by 7, and Aston Villa by 14 to secure the first Premier League for Tottenham Hotspur since 1961. Could we also add a Champions League to that this season? No, we couldn't. We faced up against the best Champions League team to ever grace the earth in Real Madrid in the knockout playoff round, where they beat us 6-3 on aggregate, and Mbappe went on to score 14 goals, and they won the final against Arsenal, winning another Champions League. So for next season, there is a goal. Season 5 is to lift the Champions League. And that is our only goal, as well, as we have now lifted every other trophy possible as we beat Brentford in the FA Cup final in a 2-1 victory, where Archie Gray and Bergvall played in DM and Alvarez scored the all-important second goal. The whole team had once again massively impressed this season, especially the players we have brought in Alvarez, Galeno and Kilkashoy, quickly followed up by Kulusevski, Bentancur Bentancur and Yves Bissouma in what is a fantastic almost midfield three there, which is really, really strong. But with the current age of this Spurs side, with now a couple of players at 30, including Vicario, Maddison, Richarlison and Bissouma, we really need to step up this chase for the Champions League. And if we do want it to happen, it is going to have to be next season, which we are going to be doing without Yves Bissouma in DM next to Bentancur, as he has accepted the move to go and join Heung-min in Al Ali, earning £750,000 a week, but also raising 68 million for us. So in that DM role, I replaced him with Manu Kone, who suits the Segundo Volante role much better than Bissouma, for £69 million. So we spent £1 million and improved our DM role. And with the rest of the budget, we spent £78 million on bringing in one of the best young centre-backs the world has ever seen, in Giorgio Scalvini, who has 46 caps for Italy at 23 years of age. He has extreme consistency, he loves big matches, and comes straight into the Spurs defence next to Romero, which moves Mickey van der Ven into that left inverted fullback role. Porro, as an inverted wing-back, can now join the midfield three with Kone and Bentancur, with Galeno, Kulusevski, Maddison and Alvarez spearheading a fantastic Spurs side, which went on to become back-to-back Premier League winners, once again with a fairly low points tally of 81, beating Arsenal on the final day of the season thanks to a superior goal difference. We beat Norwich 4-1 and Arsenal at home beat Ipswich 2-1. Quite weird how it's the two North London clubs and then the two East Anglian clubs having a massive part to play in the title season. The right way round though, as Spurs batter Norwich and Ipswich hold on against Arsenal and help us out massively as we win the title with 81 points and prove once again the appointment of Sebastian Hoeneß was the right one. A fantastic appointment, and what a manager this guy could be. And in a fantastic showing in the Champions League, as well as in the league phase, we were absolutely fantastic, finishing in 5th place. In the knockout playoff round, of course, we didn't end up playing, which means we go straight to round of 16, where we knock out Real San Sebastian 5-1 on aggregate. In the quarterfinals, faced Liverpool, our arch nemesis, and beat them 3-2, before getting to the semi-final and beating Aston Villa 5-2, which now sets up a final. The title holders are not Real Madrid because we have not yet played it, and we are up against PSG, which means once again, as the watching man, we are going to watch a massive game in the Champions League final between Spurs and PSG. So let's get into it. The Champions League final. Can Sebastian Hoeneß finally live the Champions League for Spurs? And up in our director's box, we get to watch Spurs take on PSG, a PSG side led by Vinicius Jr. with Pedri and Dembele, while Sebastian sets up in the 4-2-3-1 with Kone, Maddison and Gray in the midfield, Galeno, Kulusevski and Alvarez up front, Van der Ven, Romero, Scalvini, Porro and in goal, that man Vicario, as Spurs look to make history and lift their first Champions League trophy. And it was PSG who got off on the Champions League final on the right foot, as João Neves finds Vinicius Jr. in the box to give them the early 1-goal lead. But Sebastian Hoeneß's teams do not give up, and Shimon Kilkashoy proved to be a fantastic signing with an eventual great pass to Julian Alvarez, and just 30 seconds later we have another chance. A ball whipped in, cleared out, Bentancur finds Kulusevski to grab the second of the game, and Spurs win the Champions League. But we just can't watch it because, as the watching man, it is decided the director of football does not get to see his beloved Spurs lift the Champions League trophy, and this is the screen I am met with, which is incredibly infuriating. But if you have enjoyed the Spurs director of football rebuild, leave some comments down below of who we should do this with up next. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will speak to you next time.